No USL Championship team in recent years has been as dominant at home as Louisville City FC, and the boys in purple open up their 2023 home slate this afternoon against an El Paso Locomotive team poised for a breakout. Alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. We are delighted to have you with us on a cool, breezy spring afternoon in Louisville, Kentucky. And Ricky, El Paso needs this game in the worst of ways.
And it's been a frustrating start for El Paso. You pick up 0 points out of a possible 9, and at home, by the way. But what an opportunity for this visiting side to come into Lynn Family Stadium and spoil the party.
On the flip side for Louisville, it's been the start you come to expect out of this team.
And it's always a sign of a good team when you pick up points on the road, especially when you're starting to figure things out. You're playing at home. What does this look like? And Lynn Family Stadium is going to be popping, so Danny Cruz and company are going to be ready and up for this one here today.
Danny Cruz gave a ton of credit to his players for the way they weathered the storm to begin the season. Back-to-back games out on the West Coast against Orange County and Monterey Bay, and they took a maximum 6 points.
And the schedule makers gave them no help there. Going to Orange County and Monterey Bay, like we mentioned, Brian Ownby really stepped up. We won't see him here today, so who's going to fill in those shoes? Danny Cruz is extremely pleased with how these boys came together defensively, scoring 4 goals, allowing 1 goal against. So what does this look like at home in Lynn Family Stadium here today?
And they did it with a limited roster. They had so many quirky injuries in the beginning portion of this season. Nothing that they're expecting, hopefully, knock on wood, to cost them extended periods of time. But just quirky injuries that have left them shorthanded. The good news, they return home, and they have a handful of home games coming up over the next month or so. I mean, it doesn't get more dominant than this. To say this place is a fortress is an understatement.
In any leagues around the world, you need to pick up maximum points at home. Danny Cruz has his finger on the locker room saying, look, we're at home, we need to pick up points, and they've done that. Stats speak for themselves. Expect them to come out again. I think the first 15 minutes for El Paso, Lou City is going to be extremely important to take this game to El Paso Locomotive.
And part of the reason this team has been so successful is the depth. They've got a couple players missing, so in comes Carlos Mogul. Tonight's player profile presented by Commonwealth Credit Union slots right in the midfield.
When talking to Danny Cruz, he said he's probably been the most consistent player in preseason camp. He's turned his offseason, got a lot of muscle. He's going to sit and pull the strings from a deep line position. I think changing the point of attack for Carlos Mogul is going to be a pinpoint to kickstart this attacking unit for Lou City.
And El Paso, they're not a team that's going to panic because of a slow start. It has been an Achilles heel for them in the past, but 3 out of the 4 previous years, they turned it around into a playoff season.
And there's just so much talent on this roster. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And what an opportunity for Brian Clarhart to come into Lynn Family Stadium, spoil the party. He had a nice quote here earlier to say, he said, we're coming in to take all 3 points and walk back to Texas with the win. So expect them to be with the mentality on the front foot early here today.
Bold words from Claire Hout. Many have tried to come into Lynn Family Stadium and come away with the points. Very few have made that a success. The boys in purple open up their 2023 home slate, and they're going to do so against El Paso in desperate need of a win. It's coming up next from Lynn Family Stadium, Louisville and El Paso.
Hi, Shane Huffman with Neil Huffman Subaru on the Dixie, where this month you can lease a brand new 2023 Subaru Legacy for just $369 a month. Come visit us today for deals like this and more at Neil Huffman Subaru on the Dixie, Huffman Hat.
When the Thompsons first bought their house, all they saw was their dream home. They didn't yet know that with a home equity line of credit from Commonwealth Credit Union, it would be their keys to epic cannonballs and the chance to see the world. As years went by, it allowed them to empower the next generation and make happily ever after come true. Which begs the question, what could your home be doing for you? Let's find out together. Commonwealth Credit Union. Here, we see you differently.
We need to get the hell out of 1955.
We are not from the future.
Something terrible has happened.
Trust me, nothing is ever going to be the same again.
Riverdale. Final season begins Wednesday, 9/8 Central, only on the CW.
WDRB Weather app delivers more WDRB weather. Where you want it, when you want it. Like checking the weather during your lunch hour because you needed a little extra shut-eye and missed the morning forecast. Download the WDRB Weather app today.
Hi, Shane Huffman with Neil Huffman Subaru on the Dixie, where this month you can lease a brand new 2023 Subaru Legacy for just $369 a month. Come visit us today for deals like this and more at Neil Huffman Subaru on the Dixie, Huffman Hat.
When we win,
You win.
We're partnering with Wendy's to celebrate all Lou City and racing wins with a free small frosty.
No purchase necessary.
Simply go to any participating Louisville area Wendy's the day after a win. Show the club's social media posts featuring Wendy's and claim your free small Frosty.
Enjoy this Wendy's treat after every Lou City and racing win.
Paolo Del Piccolo pretty much sums up this whole franchise. He's been there every step of the way. First player to make 200 appearances. They honored him tonight before the game, and he's in the starting 11 tonight to make appearance number 201. Starting lineups are presented by Breeze Airways. For Danny Cruz, he was forced to make a couple of changes to the 11 because of some injuries.
Yes, changes are there, but the talent does not drop. It goes out to the front three, Mushagalusa, Lancaster, and Winder. What does that relationship look like? Del Piccolo is going to pinch in, and we're going to see Dia get advanced into that final third. Mogul pulling the strings, like I mentioned earlier, from left to right. Then you have Winder getting involved as well. Really attack-minded for Danny Cruz in starting 11 here at Lou City.
And El Paso, they have pretty much the same crop of guys they've run out the first 3 games, just hoping for a different result this afternoon.
And it comes down to Cavillo and Rose in the middle of the field. How quickly can they get in a rhythm and really take the sting out of this Lou City side? Zacharias and Solignac on that front line, really talented starting 11 once again for the visitors. It all comes down to that front two. How quickly can they get in and around that 18-yard box?
It's Louisville in the purple from right to left. El Paso in that light blue from left to right. Elvis Osmanovic in the yellow in charge of this one today. And we are underway from Lynn Family Stadium. Mogul sends it long. They want to play direct today. They go right through Winder and Lancaster pressing. Danny Cruz mentioned that they wanted to jump on El Paso here in the first 15 minutes to a half an hour. That was one of their strong suits out west in those first 2 games against Orange County. Felt they dominated the first half an hour of each of those games before they hit a little bit of a lull in the middle and then pulled through ultimately in the end of both of those. Debut for Ramsey Kowazmi wearing number 51 in the middle of that back line. Kowazmi spent the last 4 years at Providence collegiately. 4-time All-Big East honoree. Slots in next to Sean Tosh. Looking long, it falls through for Lancaster, rather Winder, excuse me. Over the top, Mushagalusa pressing. Here's Dia. Flying start a minute in for Louisville.
You see how they want to play direct. It's a great ball in from Sean Tosh. Trying to catch the feet of Lancaster. You just see the movement on that front half. Winder comes underneath. Lancaster gets in behind. Mogul is going to be a massive part here today for Lou City, just covering so much ground, doing the dirty work as well. Danny Cruz spoke so highly about him on our phone call, Joe, saying what a preseason he's had, and I think him slotting in right in front of that back line is going to be key for Lou City, changing the point of attack and kick-starting this offensive phase for the home side.
Betty Diaz once again in goal for El Paso. Has started each of the matches this season on loan from Tijuana. Spent last year on loan with the Oakland Roots before he was recalled and made 6 starts for Tijuana. Kowazmi glancing over the shoulder at Solignac barreling in. Just knocked out of play. Lucho Solignac coming off a career year for El Paso, 17 goals in his 26 games. They haven't found that touch so far this season. Although all their games have been tight and competitive, Danny Cruz was quick to admit this is not a game that can be taken lightly. You cannot fall into the false pretense that this is an 0-3 team, bottom feeder of the conference out west. This is a team that at any moment can wake up and are very likely going to be a playoff team when all is said and done at the end of this year.
One word he said is complacency. That's something that they kept harping on in training this week. We cannot get complacent. This El Paso side has so many weapons going forward. You just mentioned Solignac, what he did last year.
Lancaster earns a throw. Commonwealth Credit Union has been bettering lives in the communities they serve since 1951. To learn more, visit WeSeeYouDifferently.com. Ball needs a thrower. It's Manny Perez who trots over. 24-year-old made 27 starts last year. Fixture at right back for Louisville. El Piccolo drops it back to Perez, and he recycles through the back line. Kawasmi with it again, was brought in for a preseason trial, excelled, earned a contract, and they trust him as a depth option. Mushagalusa, rather Lancaster takes it down, tried something spectacular on the flick.
That's what Santos gives you, the ability to kickstart the attack. As he steps up, technical ability, vision, you name it, he has it in his locker. The brilliant little run here from Cameron Lancaster to dart center to the right side, just so unlucky and able to get his body around it. But once again, brilliant start for Lou City.
Zacharias fed it out wide to Eder Borelli. El Paso's losses so far, I guess the black eye, if you will, has been the fact that they were all at home. You can ill afford to drop so many points at home, especially to start the season. 3 straight games at home, 3 straight losses, but 1-0 to Sacramento. They're expected to be a contender. 2-1 to Colorado Springs, and 3-1 against Detroit. So 3 good teams, all close games. Detroit City game, you look at it and say it's a 2-goal game, but if you watch it, it never felt like it was out of hand. So there's good and bad to take for El Paso, but you have to start picking up the points somewhere. Difficult place to do so today. Something on here, played over the top, headed down and away by Toj, as Denis Kastishin, Ukrainian acquisition from this offseason, played the ball in.
I think El Paso is going to have a lot of success just playing off the shoulder of Mogul. The way Lou City likes to defend in a 4-1-4-1, he leaves that single pivot very vulnerable. So if you have Solonyak or Zacharias come in, play off the shoulder of him, you're going to have a lot of success and a lot of gaps in between the lines of Lou City. Something to keep an eye on, just have to have a lot of communication, that back line with Lou City.
Here's Borelli. It's been a regular over the last few years for El Paso. But making his season debut here today. A couple of injuries held back some players in those home games. Played out behind Toj. You're looking at the flag, and it now comes up on Solinac. There was a moment of hesitation there where they were all looking over, waiting for the flag. It was popped late. Otherwise, that would have spelled some early trouble.
And it's a brilliant idea here from Navarro. Picks up his head, sees a lot of green grass, just bends this ball to the path of Zacharias. Good early step from Kawasmi and Tosh to catch him offside. And just see how explosive El Paso is. 2 passes, the ball's in behind.
Kyle Morton gets the nod in goal today. We've also seen Oliver Zemla, new acquisition this year out of Marshall. Had some time in goal, but those two will push each other all year long. After Morton missed some time with injury last year, and Danny Fondes did as well, Louisville felt it important to bring in another viable third option just in case. Zemla is more than just a viable option. Look at a lot of rosters in this league. He might be the starter after the career he had at Marshall and what he brings to the table. They feel they have solidified that position. Yuma, milestone today, his 100th appearance in all competitions for El Paso. Take a look at today's weather report presented by Advanced ENT and Allergy. 27 mile an hour is the winds gusting up to. Cloudy and 62. That's why you see a lot of the players, particularly on the Louisville side, rocking the long sleeves today. Although you expect that to be the other way around. They should be used to it. And it's the team coming from Texas who's maybe not so used to it.
They're a bit style points as well.
Benny Diaz, we know from his time last year with the Oakland Roots, very daring at times, sometimes too much so coming off his line to play it with his feet. This time handled it well. Played in toward Lancaster, out to Del Piccolo. He's taken down. Free kick coming for Louisville in a great spot as well. Yuma the guilty party. Elvis Osmanovic signaling that it was a little jersey tug from behind. A wily veteran Yuma, 37 years of age, again making his 100th appearance for El Paso today. trying to plead his case, but it gives Louisville a chance here on the set piece.
It's a good idea here from Telfison just to whip this ball into a dangerous situation. As this ball pops out, how many times have we seen a little Piccolo just hanging around that 18-yard box to win those second phase balls? Good first touch out of his body. It is a foul. Catches him late. Now it's a very dangerous set piece here for Cameron Lancaster to go up and over that wall. We'll go Piccolo as well.
Now Piccolo's got the left foot, but it's very hard to shake off Cam Lancaster here. 76 goals for Louisville. Third most all-time. He's the active all-time leading scorer here in USL Championship. 2 players ahead of him, no longer part of the league. Third all-time. 3 goals away from passing Haji Barry for second. Is this the moment where one of those 3 is in his back pocket? Cam Lancaster into the wall. Rebound from Mogul, blocked again, pinballing around. Mogul trying to fight through. And El Paso is able to shake it clear.
I think Mogul knocks off Amadou Dia, preferred left foot. He has this one teeing up as he's running onto him. Mogul just cuts in front of him with his least preferred left foot. But once again, El Paso defensively spot on to clear their lines and make that line in front of Benny Diaz, not letting anything go through.
You can see in the first 10 minutes, though, Louisville starting to find some space on those long direct balls over the top, whether it's to Lancaster or toward Winder and Mushagalusa. Tosh tried it, Tellefson tried it. Certainly seems like part of the game plan today for Louisville.
Just caused confusion within the back line of El Paso. A lot of movement, pulling players out of position. Lancaster's very good at just reading the space. And as he tests and goes in behind, Winder comes underneath, Mushagalusa as well. The 3-man game spot on so far for Danny Cruz and company. It's very interesting how fluid they are to turn their defensive positioning into attacking opportunities.
Petar Petrovic attacking down the left wing, fronted by Manny Perez. Petrovic tried to go wide. Perez lunges in. He 27 starts last year in his first season with Louisville. A couple of knocks here and there hamper him throughout the season, but Danny Cruz went on record last year calling him the best right back in the league.
I think there's an argument to be had for both outside backs. You see Dia already coming onto a flying start, 2 assists on the campaign. And Perez, we've seen what he's had. We're talking off air, Joe. Young in age, but the experience that he's had has been around national teams, playing overseas as well. Right spot for Danny Cruz, and what a signing he's been.
Came out of NC State in 2019, went to Celtic in Scotland, never appeared for the club, but was loaned back to North Carolina FC in USL Championship. To your point, feels like he's been around forever, still just 24 years of age. It's not like he is somebody who's near the end of his career in USL Championship, somebody who is at a very bright beginning of that career. Whenever you can marry the youth with experience, you've got a 24-year-old athletic body and also now has 6 years of pro experience under his belt. That's what makes this team so dangerous. They were able to pick him up, retool on the fly. So the question here, slipped through now toward Tosh. Morton had to come out to get there. How difficult is it to play when there's 27-mile-an-hour winds whipping?
It's interesting because you talk to every single player. Would you rather play with wind? Would you rather play with rain? I would play with rain every single day. With the wind, it's just so difficult to keep that thing.
Just like that. Did not look initially like that ball would have enough on it to get over the head of Kowazmi. Almost surprised Kastishin. His header went well wide.
I was about to say, it's hard to read the flight of the ball. Kastinson makes no mistake about this one. Brilliant late run out of the interior. Once again, El Paso, very explosive. You can just see the paper behind Cal Morton. Just how powerful the wind is.
Almost looked like a Wendy's napkin, and fans, when Lou City wins, you win. This season, Lou City has partnered with Wendy's to give you a free small Frosty if the boys in purple win. No purchase necessary, offer valid the following day after a win. Head to any participating Louisville area Wendy's to redeem. Winder ahead for Tellefson. He has the pace to get there and does. Rasmus Tellefson Lancaster's header didn't get much on it. Was caught wrong-footed.
It's always difficult for a striker when you're trying to crash that near post and your player elects to cut it back, to go back and get your body around it, your shoulders. Like you mentioned, Joe, unable to get his body around it. The technique was kind of off from Lancaster there, but again, Tellefson very active on that right-hand side, getting around the edges. That relationship between him and Manny Perez, the bright spot going forward for Danny Cruz.
Goal kick so difficult in this win. It went right to Amadou Diaz. I don't think that's what Benny Diaz had in mind, unless he's having trouble deciphering between the dark purple and light blue kits right now. Mushagalusa couldn't find it. And Diaz couldn't keep it in.
Just see the high press from Lou City. Once they have a turnover, trying to win it back within the first 3 seconds. Real Paso, how quickly can you get comfortable on the ball, really dominate, put your foot down in terms of possession. To Tavi and Rose, who've been widely unmentioned in this first half. Those players are the one that pull the strings and really dictate tempo for the visitors.
Mark Navarro going to take his sweet time and inch his way up the field. Elvis Osmanovic trying to stop him in his tracks. Zacharias had it knocked away by Mogul. Back in the air, it's an adventure anytime that ball gets caught up in the wind. Carlos Mogul in that defensive midfielder role. Danny Cruz made mention of the fact that he lost a lot of weight this offseason and turned it from fat to muscle, transformed his body, has a year of experience under his belt. Danny Cruz mentioned the only reason he didn't play the first couple of games, it wasn't because he wasn't worthy of it. It was more of a feel thing. On the road, tough environments at Orange County, and Monterey Bay went with the experience in the midfield, but they're very comfortable with Mogul manning the midfield at all times this season.
Perfect example, him starting here, the home opener, Family Stadium, hostile environment. That's a very talented El Paso side. We want him to get on the ball just a bit more. 16 minutes in, haven't really said his name. Such a special player in terms of technique, vision. Kickstart to the attacking side for the home.
Perez back for Tosh. Back and forth with Del Piccolo. Del Piccolo with the most appearances for Louisville. Tosh with the most minutes played. Overlap too strong for Perez. There's a lot of speed down that right wing now between Tellefson, Perez, and Winder. And Tellefson was one of the surprises in chatting with Danny Cruz that they couldn't quite pick up just from the video and scouting him to bring him over to Louisville, how fast he was. They couldn't get their hands on the physical metrics. And then he steps into the training ground, and they're just kind of looking at each other, stunned at how fast he is. They knew the skill on the ball. They knew his creativity, but to pair it with the speed he has, they think he's going to be one of the most dangerous players in the league this season.
You can see 17 minutes in, he just has a very good feel for this game. He understands when to stay wide, when to come underneath and play that support system, that relationship. As he comes in the interior, Perez goes around, just a bit heavy on the pass, but something you like to see when those two players are on the same plane, on the same page in terms of reading each other. Such a nightmare to defend. Borelli needs to be up to the challenge.
Kowazmi back to Morton. Kowazmi seems very secure in the first 17 minutes of his debut. Not trying to do anything flashy. A couple of times now we've seen him just turn around, make the easy pass to Morton.
When you're making your debut, that's what you want to do. Play simple. Most times, often than not, a simple pass is the most efficient one. Don't try to overcomplicate things just like that. Playing it back to Morton, nothing's on, circulate. Really pull out this El Paso side, and when you open up those gaps, that's when you play between the lines.
Tosh looking long, and the wind took it again. That started out to the left. All of a sudden knuckled all the way out for a throw-in. We touched on it in the first 10 minutes. It seems like it's part of the game plan today for Louisville, just going long and direct. They've tried it a number of times, but at what point do you pivot off of that with this wind? It's clearly not going their way. 27-mile-an-hour gusts in Louisville. Del Piccolo. Toes this time on the ground. Picked up by Zacharias. Liam Rose over to Mark Navarro. Nobody in the vicinity for El Paso. Haven't seen them do much with the ball in the first 20 minutes.
Most of their success has been quick passing and just whipping the ball into a dangerous situation. But once again, Calvillo and Rose very quiet in this opening first half. If you're playing Claire Hout, you want them to get on the ball more times often than not. Just playing out those soft pockets that I keep talking about. Off the shoulder of Mogul, there's so much real estate you can see there. That's Petrovic, is just in that between the lines. If you get him, go out the other way, there's going to be a lot of real estate to work in for El Paso.
Up into the wind again. Mushagalusa thought he had a beat on it, drifted beyond him. Dia slots it through to Winder. Now Mushagalusa missed his first touch. Tried to turn the corner, doesn't matter, flag came up.
But once again, just a relationship. Winder, Mushagalusa, Lancaster. Winder comes underneath. Mushagalusa is the one testing, trying to get in behind. And Lancaster, that's what he brings you. The ability to bring players in as a striker is such an underrated asset. Cameron Lancaster understands the speed and pace of his teammates.
Sensei Pavkovic now to Navarro. Just joined ahead of this season. Mark Navarro sends it long. Why not with the wind? Did you count how many times that ball changed direction in the air?
He's been extremely active on this right-hand side. No one steps out. And with the wind, you can just see the knuckle. He hits it extremely clean, Navarro there. He's been very active for El Paso, just in terms of his service. Doesn't need a second invitation to pull the trigger as well. Bright start for the right back for El Paso.
And maybe serving as a precedent for his teammates. If you have that kind of time and space, let it rip, why not? Don't know what's gonna happen in this wind. Dia misfires, looking for Mushagalusa. Wind knocks it down. Diaz was ready to come out and field it, and the ball just stopped. I don't mean to keep harping on it, but at some point, it has to impact the way you play this game.
Just keep it on the deck. It's a good idea just to clip it in. Lancaster just undercuts Yuma. It's a nice little battle we have going on between Lancaster and Yuma. Two players that have experience in USL, very successful in their own rights.
Petrovic shields it. Spent the last 9 years in Sweden. Ryan Clairhout coaching in Sweden, coaching against Petrovic, and was one of the guys who was very excited to bring with him to the U.S. Kept tabs on him all those years, coaching against him in Sweden. Debuted back in 2013 at the age of 17 for Malmo, one of the top clubs in Sweden. A foul against El Paso. Kolasmi for Tosh. Has to be nice to make your debut next to a veteran of the ilk of Sean Tosh. Calming influence back there. Has so many responsibilities on this back line per Danny Cruz, and he is taken out hard by Liam Rose. Will produce a yellow card. First of the match goes to Liam Rose.
Danny Cruz told us on our phone call, he just asked so much of Sean Tosh, the ability to get into the attack and kickstart, to break lines with his passing, but also to step out and put a challenge in when is needed. Very comfortable, like you said, confident center back. As he steps up, Liam Rose catches him extremely late. Very dangerous set piece. Or Lou City looks like Mogul's over it. Likes to go quick.
They keep it on the deck, as you mentioned. Now Mogul lofts it ahead. Lancaster battling through Yuma. Skips into the hands of Benny Diaz. Made 13 starts in USL Championship last year with the Oakland Roots before he was recalled from his loan by Tijuana. LA, California native. Winder from Mushagalusa, not on the same page as Lancaster, wanted the through ball out ahead. Mushagalusa tried to play to feet.
Those are situations, if you're El Paso, you force a turnover, how quickly can you go back the other way? Well, that Lou City likes to play expansive, commit numbers forward, so if you're able to play direct into the feet of Solignac or Zacharias, you're gonna have a lot of success. The players to come in, join the attack. Just a bit too slow in terms of their decision making. Great ball here.
Yellow card brought to you by World of Beer.
And those are the balls I'm talking about, Joe. Kashinstein comes in into the interior right off the shoulder of Mogul. That really puts a lot of pressure on the back line of Lou City, whether it's Kawazmi or Tosha, step off their line, and if they do, they leave a big gaping gap behind them.
Mogul dispossessed by Zacharias. Now Kastishin. Denis Kastishin closing in on Dia. Steps at the right time. They'll concede the corner. But fortunate, that's all.
You can see how comfortable Kastishin is on the ball. 1v1. Give credit to Dia. Recovery one spot on, needed to be.
First corner of the match for either team. Remy Kastishin with an in-swinger. And keep in mind that 27-mile-an-hour wind is blowing right to goal if he wanted to go for that goal instead. Out to the top of the area. Now gets it back at a better angle. Kastishin whips it in toward the far post over everybody. And out for a goal kick.
As they elect to go short to change the angle. Good idea from Kastishin just to whip this thing into that back post, just too heavy on it. And you would think, like you mentioned, Joe, just with the wind, the factor in swinger going into goal, just whip that thing in a dangerous situation. Ask questions of Morton. Caused a lot of chaos within that back line, that 6-yard box of Blue City. There are opportunities that are going to be extremely impactful for El Paso in this first half, set pieces.
26 minutes come and gone, neither team with a shot on goal yet. Dia pressured hard by Kastishin, comes away with it. Mogul steps to it. Dia coming off a career year. Had a career high 8 assists in 2022. 31 starts. One of the key players that was brought over from Sporting Kansas City after they left USL Championship for MLS Next Pro. The other being Mushagalusa and Wilson Harris. That trio of players, all from SKC to Louisville, all very impactful last year. Harris out injured today. And when he is healthy and when Cam Lancaster is healthy, those are tough but good decisions to have to make if you're Danny Cruz. It'll be interesting to see if they can find a way to work together. That'll make them incredibly dangerous, have those two on the field at the same time.
One of the best possession-based opportunity here for Lou City. There's no need to force that from Dia.
That's your fault.
As I say that, correct, right? But just rotating the ball from left to right, we can see Mogul getting more involved. And when he gets involved, how fluid it is. Him and Del Piccolo, nice little two-man game in the center of the park. Goes out the one way, come back the other way. There's just no need to force it if you're Dia there. So have to see the rhythm coming involved. Great ball.
Ball through to Telefson. Diaz sliding out to meet it. Now Winder for Telefson. Telefson into Lancaster, falls for Winder. Put it wide. Might have taken a touch. Louisville setting up now for a corner.
Just playing through lines has caused all sorts of problems for El Paso. Tellefson just understands it's a bit shaky in the back for the visitor. If I just whip this thing, it's going to cause confusion, creativity. As this ball comes out to Wine, they're just so unlucky. He tries to squeak it into that near post.
Wi-Fi corner to Mogul. Mogul back out wide. Now whipped in, but the offside flag came up. Amadou Dia put his hands on his head when Mogul passed it back out wide. If the body language is going to indicate anything, that was something off the training ground that was a misstep from either Mogul or somebody missed the cue somewhere.
Or I think he's just thinking Mogul needs to get his hips around this and just put this on target. We talk about the technical ability from the youngster. As this ball's coming across, you don't need to hit it hard. Use the momentum against it. Just get your hips around it and put it on target. See what happens.
Tosh muscled off the ball. Does well to win it back in the 1v1. Zacharias coming off a career year of his own for El Paso. Had 7 assists last season to go with a goal. Made 30 appearances. That was after seeing a minimal role in 2021. Just 13 games played. 1 goal scored. Amadou Dia. Taken down by Castishin. Dia pleading for a card. Half an hour gone at Lynn Family Stadium. With MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa, delighted to have you with us this afternoon. A cool, breezy spring afternoon in Louisville as Louisville City FC opens up its 2023 home slate. And going back to June of 2021 when they reopened to 100% capacity in the aftermath of COVID here at Lynn Family Stadium. Louisville is 24-4-2 with a plus 45 goal differential. Hoping to carry that mark into 2023 with a strong start. Against an El Paso side desperate in this one after an 0-3 start to the year with all 3 games coming at home. Del Piccolo touches it along. All the way through to Benny Diaz. Calvillo. So instrumental in Orange County's run of the title back in 2021. Over the top here, Morton read it the whole way. Up in the wind, Solinak seemed to misjudge it. He was all alone, but never made a beeline to the ball.
Needs to be a bit more better in terms of communication and rotation between Sean Tosh and Kawasmi. Too many times, Solinak is just there, pocket of 5 yards around him. That ball just drops his feet. He has a lot of real estate to bring that down and ask questions of Kyle Morton. So as that deep lying run, maybe a deeper position in terms of communication needs to be better.
Look where Elijah Winder is now. See if that's a tactical change from Louisville. He went from the right winger in the attack to almost occupying the left back role right now as he gets it ahead to Mushagalusa. Enoch Mushagalusa was harassed the whole way by Rose, who won it cleanly in the end. Diaz has to hurry with Lancaster closing in. Now Yuma into the corner. Pressure closing in, and Diaz just gets rid of it to be safe.
You just see the counter press from Lou City. Sloppy touch from Mushagalusa. Players are running ragged, trying to force another turnover. Try to win the ball back in their attacking half.
Shin, he needs a new sock. Pleading his case that he was cleated in the calf, and the evidence would indicate he was. A gaping hole there now, mid-calf.
It's interesting you pointed out, Josh, as you have Winder comes in a bit deeper. That gives a freedom for Dia to push higher. Mushagalusa comes centrally. Just that rotation in the middle of the field creates so much confusion within that back line of the opposition.
Del Piccolo, Tellefson playing in a phone booth there at the top of the box.
We're also having a very difficult time dealing with that press.
Tosh pressured by Zacharias, gives it away. Calvillo read it the whole time and breaks with it to Zacharias. Ricardo Zacharias to Solinak, far post, nobody home. Attack still alive. Shin slips it through to Solinak. Solinak to the far post. Header across the frame is initially mishandled by Morton, but he's able to corral it. Best attacking motion of the day so far for El Paso.
The talent is on display. Just a movement off the ball. Well, it's riding the line from Solinak not once but twice. That's this thing comes back across. Petrovic has everything. He does everything right. Heads it down. But Morton positioning in terms perfection for the goalkeeper for Lou City. You just see it starting to click a little bit for the visitors here.
Ramsey Kawazmi, 88 starts at Providence in his time in the Big East. Tellefson has options in the middle. Del Piccolo is there. Navarro headed it away. Lancaster to Mushagalusa. Osmanovic thinking about blowing the whistle, and he did. Wanted to let the advantage play out, never materialized. Another good free kick opportunity coming now for Louisville. So fifth, third free kick. The last one for Lancaster ended up hitting the wall, but a little further away from the box here. Better chance to get it up and over. That is if the wind doesn't take it, because you're going right into the teeth of that 27-mile-an-hour wind at this end of the field.
And Lou City is just all about having the numerical advantage as this ball comes across. Really puts Kasherston in a very tricky situation. Does he go with Lancaster? Does he go with Mushagalusa? As Lancaster plays it around the corner, he's off to the races. Feels any sort of contact is always going to go down. Very dangerous set piece here.
How do you read this if you're Lancaster? You see napkins blowing across the goal frame to the right. You know this is going to be difficult with the wind. Does Del Piccolo have a thought about this one with his left foot wrapping it around Yuma and catching Benny Diaz at that open side of the near post? It is Lancaster into the wall again. Headed on by Del Piccolo, and the offside flag comes up. Louisville half and full season ticket membership packages are available now for 2023. Lou City's home opener today against El Paso is on the brink of potentially being a record sellout, but plenty more to come beyond today. Visit LouCity.com today for more information. Tosh orchestrating from the back, has so much freedom to roam, but also within that freedom, so many responsibilities. Up to him to read the play, know when to go, when to stay, and be a leader back there. Last year set the USL Championship record, 9 goals for a defender.
More times often than not in this first half, he's able to step up into that midfield third, just play this ball direct into break lines into the feet of Cameron Lancaster. When you have a center back that feels comfortable enough to do that and well enough to read the game, when to do that, it's such a luxury to have.
Zacharias out wide for Petrovic. Petrovic tried to cut it back for Kastishin. At some point we will receive official word on the numbers at Lynn Family Stadium today. They were expecting a potential record gate for their home opener. A home opener they've lost only once. It was 2020 against Pittsburgh. Navarro whips it in, and nobody touched it. He'll claim that goal himself. Morton never saw it. In a game so tight for 38 minutes, It's a quirky one, but it counts all the same.
And a key for both of these organizations was just changing the point of attack. Isolate a defender 1v1 as Navarro elects to come inside. That does two things. That shades Kyle Morton. Too much traffic, he can't see it. And when you whip a ball into a dangerous situation, good things happen. No one needs to touch it. It's a very tricky thing for a goalkeeper to read this. Solignac's crossing across. If he gets any sort of touch, it changes the angle. As he just dips his head, Kyle Morton sees it too late. El Paso 1-0 up on the road.
You wonder if that was something that in the course of play in this first half they discussed, because Solignac clearly ducked out of the way. That he made no play on the ball. It seemed completely intentional on his part to just vacate the premises.
And as he's coming across, it's a very difficult ask for a striker too.
Long toss on the throw, and the bicycle into the hands of Diaz.
And as it's coming across, to get your body around it as well as keep it on target. Very difficult technique. Very sneaky the way he just ducks. Really plays that shade in front of Morton to skew his vision. Just one of those as a goalkeeper. It's so difficult to read. How quickly can you react? The reaction. Navarro hits it with a lot of pace. When you see it's way too late for Kyle Morton. Now you're looking at 1-0 down right before halftime.
And a yellow card issued to Mogul. Yellow card brought to you by World of Beer. So it's Mogul for Louisville, Liam Rose for El Paso, both in the book.
We talked about it off the air, Joe. Just talking about how much success you're going to have when you change the point of attack, whether it's in the middle of the field, from an outside back to an outside back. You can see Mogul, handful of the jersey of Zacharias, gets him in the book. You have the ability to pick your head up, an isolated defender. There's so much real estate. Either you come inside, you go outside. Really puts the opposition on their heels. We saw Dia does everything well. Forces them into traffic. Just so unlucky with the run from Solignac. Clevers everyone.
It's on Louisville to respond. Kawashmi over to Tosh. Tellefson for Perez. Andy Perez finds some space. Dia calling for it across the field. Mogul just has to be careful. He just picked up the yellow. Play on, says Osmanovic. That was a dicey one. Perez, a clean challenge from behind. Two players still down for El Paso. Louisville doesn't care. No obligation to play it out. They'll keep it going. Here's Dia. Amadou Dia to the back post. Just hung up there too long for Tellefson to do anything with it. And El Paso is going to circle around Osmanovic here. Unhappy with both of those non-calls.
You can just hear the shouting and yelling, the ruckus coming from the El Paso bench from underneath. There's an argument, I think, from the bench from Manny Perez's challenge in the mid-center of the park. I think he catches Zacharias there.
Good step by Dia to win it. Just not in sync when they get across midfield, Louisville. 6 shots, not on target. Bounds into the hands of Morton.
Just forcing that ball. Dia doesn't need to. He has tons of green grass in front of him. He just advances. Then he puts Navarro in a very tricky situation. You have Mushagalusa peeling out to his left-hand side, or you have the option to go into the interior and really put a lot of pressure on Petrovic.
Now in the second half, Louisville will be going with the win, so a lot of those balls over the top that aren't working in this first half because they're just knocked down by Mother Nature might cause some issues for El Paso. We saw in the first 5 to 10 minutes, they had trouble tracking some of those long balls, allowing Louisville in behind. Ever since then, it hasn't quite worked out the same. And here's Perez in space. Cuts it back to the penalty spot for Mushagalusa, but he scuffs it. Hit it down into the ground. Didn't catch it cleanly. And Benny Diaz, another easy save. That's officially the first shot on target of the day for Louisville.
This right side for Lou City has been very active. Telefson, Perez, two-man game, and it's a good idea.
Zacharias! Stunning Louisville at the Estopino end. El Paso up 2 right before the half.
In the open, Joe, we talked about it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There's just too much talent on this roster for El Paso. Not to score goals, not to get results. Those two strikers, Zacharias, Solignac, very active in terms of running, in terms of just working together. Danny Cruz, you're going to be extremely frustrated with how this goal gets let in. Ball from Diaz. You can just see the oncoming running, the anticipation to get in behind Kawasmi. And clinical finish. Lets this ball drop, lets it come across his body as he just sneaks it into that far post. Clear that back line, Kawasmi and Tosh. As one steps up, one needs to provide that cover. Slow in rotation, you get punished for it once again.
Stoppage time is presented by Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Have not received official word, but all we have heard so far is that there will be no stoppage time. Don't know if that was changed in the aftermath of the last goal that was scored because we are beyond 45 now. It looked like it was Kawasmi again who might be the guilty party on that goal. The first one, it's tough to put it all on him because it was an odd one. Player ducked out of the way. Morton never saw it. That time got beat by Zacharias coming right through. Perhaps the last kick of the ball here in this half. Diaz tracks it, grabs it, and there's a whistle to end the first half. It's El Paso 2, Louisville nothing. Stunning the crowd here at Lynn Family Stadium in the home opener.
And it all comes out to the center backs for Lou City, just to know when to step. And when one steps, the other one needs to provide the cover. One time Kawasmi steps, Sean Tosh is slow to cover. You get punished for it, but you have to give credit to El Paso. The way that they came in really weathered the storm here. Took this thing out of the game, and then as the half kept going on, started to connect passes. You see the movement of Solignac and Zacharias causing all sorts of problems, just moving together. So one comes to feet, one goes in behind. If you're Brian Clareheart, you have to be extremely pleased with how your boys started this first half. The second half, you know that the challenge is going to come from Lou City.
Well, coming into the day, Brian Clareheart was quoted as saying, "I'm looking to go get a good win, a good result, a clean sheet. I'd like to go in there and handle the energy, the crowd, and be organized and in control of the game." Got to get the lottery numbers from him because that is going exactly the way he wanted so far here at Lynn Family Stadium. El Paso 2, Louisville nothing. More to come on the Breeze Airways halftime show.
Choose your character. Manny Perez. Rasmus Telefson. Enoch Mushagalusa. Tyler Gibson.
Let's go, City.
Watch Louisville City FC take on Sacramento April 1st at 10 on WBKI. This is Aaron. Aaron is responsible for prepping the stadium for Lou City game day. Grass is mowed, lines are painted, and the field is watered. Yeah, his team puts in a lot of work, transforming this into this. But weather can get in the way. So to ensure the crowd will be safe, they call Mark at WDRB for the official green light to play. Making the right call and keeping everyone safe. WDRB Weather, the source.
First bought their house, all they saw was their dream home. They didn't yet know that with a home equity line of credit from Commonwealth Credit Union, it would be their keys to epic cannonballs and the chance to see the world. As years went by, it allowed them to empower the next generation and make happily ever after come true. Which begs the question, what could your home be doing for you? Let's find out together. Commonwealth Credit Union. Here, we see you differently.
When you get proven quality at lower than low. Find the proven quality you love at lower than low prices with Kroger brand products. Only at Kroger. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
This past week, Louisville City's sister club Racing Louisville in the NWSL unveiled their new kits, and here is the story behind what I personally believe probably the best kits in the entire league.
"50 years ago, Secretariat captivated the nation with his Triple Crown run.
His owner, our mom, became a pioneer in her field.
Penny Chenery was the First Lady of Racing.
A take-no-guff businesswoman who broke barriers everywhere she went.
A proud daughter, sister, mother, business owner, and champion of women.
Now there's a new generation of women taking the reins, blazing their own trails, just like our mom.
A generation full of courage, strength, and determination.
Every time we put on this kit.
Every time we walk onto the field.
Every time we play for this city.
We honor Penny's legacy.
We honor those who come before us.
We honor pioneering women everywhere.
This is about the path we forge.
This is our turn.
And this is so much more than a kit.
This is so much more than a shirt.
So much more than a game.
This is our moment.
This is our race.
Run with us.
You can get out to Lynn Family Stadium all season long to see those kits, and the home opener for Racing Louisville is next Saturday, April 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern. They hope to fare a little bit better than Lou City is right now, down 2-0 at the break against El Paso. More to come on the Breeze Airways halftime show.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Time is presented to you by Breeze Airways. Nice, new, and non-stop. That's the Breezeway, and Breeze has been the theme of the first half here. 27-mile-an-hour winds whipping around Lynn Family Stadium. It's the winds of change perhaps in the early season for El Paso after an 0-3 start. Now out to a 2-0 lead. We step away from our game for a moment to take a wider look around USL Championship with some news and notes here in the early going still of the season. Not even quite a month old yet this season. Bill Hamid is with Memphis 901. That acquisition turned some heads around the league.
And I think they needed, obviously, 2 games at home, 0.6 goals against. So what does this look like in terms of his leadership in that back line? Obviously, Memphis 901 was going to play Oakland tonight, but something happened with the field. That will be postponed by one go down. Albert Dequa, I think Russell Cicerone goes out to Sacramento Republic. He's going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders. He needs to step up, and so far, getting a hat trick at Memphis, right way to do it.
And you see why they need Bill Hamid after the week that Albert Dequa had. So it all ties together. And the USL Championship on ESPN. That schedule kicks off May 13th as Louisville takes on Miami. Now, elsewhere around the league today, we saw some action between Birmingham and Hartford. They are awaiting the final whistle there. It is 90+4 now, with Birmingham still clinging to a 1-0 lead. And then still plenty more action to come around the league today as well. Detroit and Indy just kicked off. And we already saw Pittsburgh, Miami with the 1-1 draw, RGV and Monterey Bay with the 1-1 draw as well. And the upcoming schedule the rest of the night, to your point, there is one change to be made. Oakland and Memphis, that is postponed. That was just announced this afternoon. But still plenty more action elsewhere in the league. Don't sweat that one game was taken off the slate because we have plenty of others to get to you. And it all really kicks off around 7:30.
Looking at Sacramento Republic hosting Nate Miller and San Diego Loyal. San Diego Loyal taking all sorts of problems out the window against Phoenix Rising. San Antonio hosting the Switchbacks. What does that look like? And then Orange County, I'll tell you what, Orange County did look good, unable to find all 3 points against Tampa, but they're hosting Las Vegas Lights, so that's one to keep an eye on as well.
All matchups in the early going of the season are intriguing. Orange County and Vegas. Vegas is a new look team this year. Same goes for Loudoun. Both of those teams sort of ditched their previous affiliations with their former parent clubs in MLS. Now they're on their own, doing their own thing. Loudoun has looked good. They had a win to start the season. They drew San Antonio. Tulsa, new look there. Sam Dorr, the president. Larry Gavin, the head coach. They've looked like a retooled, dangerous team. There's intrigue in every matchup all across the way. And of course, Charleston and Tampa Bay, plenty of storylines there with some cross-pollination between the front offices of Tampa Bay and Charleston. Well, after 45 minutes here at Lynn Family Stadium, it's El Paso 2, Louisville nothing. Just a few moments away from kicking off in half number 2, and Louisville has some work to do if they want to keep their stellar record at home going. They haven't lost in a home opener since 2020, but that is certainly in danger.
Did you know taking care of your teeth and gums helps control blood sugar levels? A healthy smile means a healthier you. We can help you get there. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensondental.com. Did you know taking care of your teeth and gums helps lower your risk of heart attack? A healthy smile means a healthier you. We can help you get there. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensondental.com.
Well, they say the grass is greener there, but ours is dreamy blue. And there's no place I would rather be than Kentucky with you.
It's game time, baby. Are you ready? 'Cause I'm ready. It's game time. It's game time. It's game time. 'Cause it's game time. It's game time.
That you've got pizza in your hand, you're having a good time, but I think those kids would rather have Louisville getting the upper hand here in the home opener against El Paso, down 2-0 at the break as we take a look at highlights from half number 1. And Ricky, these highlights are going to be pretty one-sided. As the half wore on, El Paso really grew into things and found both goals.
It was kind of like a chess match, both teams kind of feeling each other out. Navarro was very active for El Paso on this right-hand side. One thing you know about him, the quality of service that he has, right foot, left foot, you're going to see it come to fruition later in this first half, but Lou City didn't really get in a rhythm. The rotation was kind of slow. You see Dia here exposed, and then Navarro once again doesn't need a second invitation to pull the trigger. This one has a lot of dip and whip on it. So close to causing all sorts of problems for Callum Morton. And then changing the point of attack was always going to be a key for both of these organizations. 1v1, Amadou Diaz is extremely right. Forces him inside into traffic, but how clever is this from Zolignac? Just to shade the view of Callum Morton. He sees it way too late, and as a striker, you always want to get across that near post. One, it's an easy tap, and if you get any contact in it, and two, it just causes all sorts of confusion and chaos. But they can't go up two, can they, Joe? Benny Diaz, you can just see how quickly Zacharias is quick to anticipate and get in behind Kawasmi. Talk about a clinical finish. Lets this ball come down, lets it come across his body as he's fighting off the defender. Just kisses that far post, and brilliant take from Zacharias to give El Paso 2-0 lead going into halftime.
And by the way, they went back and looked at that. There was no touch on the ball before it got to Zacharias. So officially, Benny Diaz gets the goalkeeper assist on the play. You see 7 shots to 5, but 3 on target to 1 in favor of El Paso. Louisville controlling the ball, but not doing a ton with it.
I think they need to get better in that final third, just in terms of rotation. We saw it in the first 10 or 5 to 10 minutes, just Mushagalusa, Lancaster, and Weiner working extremely well together, but they kind of got away from that as the half went on. The insertion of the balls from Strong Tosh into the feet of Lancaster with players running off of him. They need to get Mogul on the ball a bit more. If you're Danny Cruz, how does this thing change in that second half? And I think that front three needs to get on the ball more times often than not, especially around that box.
Navarro in the 39th minute. Zacharias in the 45th minute. It's a 2-0 lead for El Paso as we begin the second half. Locomotive from right to left in the blue, and Louisville from left to right in the purple. With MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us this afternoon as we kick off a busy slate of USL Championship action. One sub to get you at the half. Ramsey Kawasmi's pro debut ends as Oscar Jimenez takes his place.
Also in number 19, Oscar Jimenez.
Also Niall McCabe for Paolo Del Piccolo on the Louisville side. All substitutions brought to you by Fortna. Also Jorge Gonzalez for Elijah Winder. That tells you a lot from Danny Cruz. 3 changes coming out of the chute to begin the second half.
I was not pleased up to the standard for Lou City in that first half. And McCabe was going to give them, just in terms of possession, their identifier in that midfield, him and Mogul dictating tempo for Lou City.
Tellefson, long run for Perez, gets there. Inside to McCabe, back to Perez, to Mushagalusa, but too strong. Beautiful build, lacked the last piece of the puzzle.
Just reading the game from now, McCabe, as he gets into a higher line, puts a lot of pressure on the back line of El Paso. Yumo Borelli, don't know which one to cover, and then it's all about the running off the ball. Brilliant 1-2, you can just see the top of your screen. It's gonna be Mushagalusa making that late run off the shoulder of Yuma. It's a bit too heavy on the pass. But once again, good pattern play from Lou City.
Lancaster knocked from behind by Yuma. Just a reminder, as we took a look at those halftime stats brought to you by Pave Masters, there were a couple of yellow cards in the half. It was one for Carlos Mogul on the Louisville side and one for Liam Rose on the El Paso side. And that's not something you see very often, but it's good proactive refereeing by Elvis Osmanovic. Told the rest of the El Paso back line, he pointed at Lancaster and said no more. He's already been fouled a few times. Next one's going to be a yellow for targeting the same player. McCabe, the free kick, skies it. How often do you see a player pick up a yellow card, not for persistent infringement because of 3 or 4 fouls of their own, but for fouling a certain guy for a 3rd or 4th time? That's a good final warning by Osmanovic, because Lancaster has taken a beating in the first 47 minutes of this game.
Anytime a team sheet comes out and Lancaster's on there, the opposition's always going to circle him. Like, we need to limit him. We can't let him get in a rhythm, get him confident, especially around that 18-yard box. And like you mentioned, Joe, really good refereeing from the center there.
Louisville, remember, has the wind at their back now in this half. So for all the long balls they tried in the first half that were knocked down by the wind and hampered their ability to play forward, we can go ahead and tap back into that here in the second half. We saw what it did for El Paso on that second goal. Benny Diaz punt, caught up in the wind, ended up through to Zacharias. Now McCabe. Started last season late because of an illness. Had last season end early because of a broken foot. So important to this midfield. Very happy to have him back. Tosh. Kellefson. Out for a throw.
Just see the spacing between McCabe and Mogul. Mogul's going to be the one that sits a bit more. McCabe joined the attack as he sees fit. Brilliant ball to change the point of attack there.
But the offside flag comes up on Mushagalusa. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.selectsportamerica.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice.
I think it's going to be an X factor in this second half. Just the positioning of McCabe underneath Lancaster. What that's going to do is going to give Gonzalez and Mushagalusa, the freedom to stay wide. And what that's going to do is going to open up gaps between that back line of El Paso to play those through balls that we saw early in the second half. So Danny Cruz really smart in terms of his rotation, bringing players off of the bench and just reading the game.
Tosh back to Morton. Turned out to be a debut for Kawasmi that he'd like to have a couple of plays back. Looked secure and comfortable early on. You can fault him for the first goal, sure. He partially got out of the way himself on that ball whipped in by Navarro. It's a tough one where instinct kicks in. You see what seems to be a harmless ball like that. You figure your best bet is to leave it for the keeper. The second one, he got beat by Zacharias for sure.
When you're a center back and you come off your line, you'd be extremely certain that you're going to make a play on the ball. Just misreads it. Zacharias quicker to anticipate getting behind.
Perez in the corner. And just lost it in the end. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship action on ESPN+, home of the USL, MLS, La Liga, Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today at plus.espn.com.
That's going to be very interesting, Joe. Kawasmi, like you mentioned, probably would want a couple plays back, but what does he take that information? How does he bounce back from it, especially so young in their career? It comes down to the manager. Now, Danny Cruz is always supportive of his players. Go to film, say, look, you have the ability.
Navarro, early ball in. Diaz slides to knock it away from Solinak, who commits the foul. Again, it's Navarro down that right wing. And Solinak's going to pick up a yellow for playing spike ball down in the corner. Yellow card brought to you by Oral the Beer.
You can just see as he just pushes Shantosh out of the way. There's no need for that. There's no really argument. The extension of the two arms is always going to get you in trouble, especially towards the back of a player.
Perez. Gonzalez, he's taken down. Perez picks up the loose change and attacks. Perez from McCabe. Perez whips it in. Flicked on by Mushagalusa. Now headed by Tellefson. Mushagalusa, a shove in the back there. Two-handed shove in the back of Navarro. Crowd doesn't like it, but the proper call.
A bit of confusion between Tellefson and Niall McCabe. As this ball is dropping down, you can see McCabe at the bottom of your screen just licking his lips, waiting for this thing to come down to smash it in. Tellefson comes in underneath him. Mushagalusa, much like Solignac, pushes the defender out of the way, right in front of the referee. It's a clear foul. But once again, just a movement from Niall McCabe, getting in those advanced positions. Great ball.
Down the right wing, Solignac has options in the middle. Off the fingertips of Morton, but he gets there before any damage could be done. Tellefson.
A bit of a tactical change for Louis City. Diaz slots into that left-sided center back. Jimenez is playing as your left back here. Both left-footed players on that left side. Would be very good in terms of the rotation as Jimenez pushes up. Diaz needs to shift over. Navarro's having a lot of success on that right-hand side for El Paso, getting into that final third.
Now the downside to Danny Cruz using those three changes right out of the chute at halftime, he doesn't have much to work with in this game. It's a short bench because of the injuries that Louisville is enduring at the moment. The only veteran available on the bench is Ty Gibson. Outside of that, you have two academy players who would be in there for the first time throwing the Wolves, Colin Elder, Travis Smith. On the one hand, after the way the first half went, you have to poke at that flame and try to spark something. On the other side, could you have kept the same guys out there, try to change some things so this way you're not depleting your options off the bench? Unless he wants to trust the academy kids in Elder and Smith, he only has one true real substitution left at his disposal. Gonzalez to Mushagalusa. Atiti cuts, crosses toward the back post, it almost goes in! Caught up in that wind, Benny Diaz had to touch it over the bar. Athletic goalkeeping by the 24-year-old to keep it 2-0.
So slippery 1v1. We've seen it throughout his career here. Mushagalusa, I don't know if he has eyes for that goal, if he even means it. But just to put this thing, test the goalkeeper. And Diaz, like you alluded to, the win, takes it. Confident goalkeeper to punch it open over the bar.
5-5 corner kick for Louisville. Amadou Diaz swings it in, back post. Somebody knocked into Benny Diaz. Guilty party, I believe in the end, was Cam Lancaster. Easy foul call for Osmanovic. Louisville City FC will put the World's Game on display at Lynn Family Stadium later this summer when hosting its first ever international friendly. Louis City will welcome Germany's FC Kaiserslautern to town on Wednesday, June 21st. Tickets are in demand and on sale now, with more information at louscity.com. Louisville still with just one official shot on target. I don't know that they will actually credit a shot on that one for giving away here at the back. One-on-one with Morton. That's three for El Paso. Nightmare at the back. Petar Petrovic makes them pay. From bad to worse for Louisville, the team who's 0-3 on the season. El Paso now up 3-0.
And it's a big no-no to play this square, especially in your defensive half. But there's no reaction. Petrovic is the first to react to get in the better side of Perez. And once again, he crosses the ball down to the left-hand side of Kyle Martin. Too quick, too clinical. Well taken finish from the winger for El Paso to go up 3-0 on the road. Once again, if you're Danny Cruz, extremely frustrating. Too casual in the back, too stagnant, and you get punished once again.
Trying to respond quickly here. Petrovic making his first start today in USL Championship for El Paso, gets his first goal. There's also a first goal in USL Fort Navarro. And this is exactly what El Paso needed after losing the first 3 games of the season all at home. How do you offset poor home performances and points dropped? Well, pick up 3 points that not a lot of people probably had you picking up on this day. Offsets at least one of those home losses.
And you have to give credit to El Paso, just how clinical, 3 looks at goal, 3 balls in the back of the net. But defensively, a lot of question marks for Lou City at the moment. The first goal gets let in, no one touches it, too pedestrian-like. Secondly, no one anticipates the run. Same thing for the third goal. Sloppy turnover, and you get punched in the mouth from Petrovic right there.
There's still ample time, obviously, for Louisville to come back and do something here. Half an hour. We've seen them do more with less time in their stint here in USL Championship, but if this goes the way it's certainly looking like it's going to go, now all of a sudden, if you're El Paso, this is something you can parlay into a bigger run here. You go on the road against FC Tulsa, improved this year, but still unproven. And then after that, you get to return home, right the wrongs of those first 3 games you had at home that you lost. You have them against Orange County and Pittsburgh. So you're looking at this game, maybe fans from afar saying, wow, El Paso might be 0-4 going into Land Family Stadium. Good luck. Instead, this could be one of those that you put in the back of your mind, and a month and a half from now, think about where El Paso might be, and it might be a case where it all started here today in Louisville.
And it's always an opportunity to fight back. You never want to go down 0-3, especially when you're playing at home for this El Paso side. But I read the quote from Brian Clarehout saying, look, we want to walk home with 3 points. We want to get the clean sheet. Very proactive, and just tells you the mentality and the standard that he pulls his boys to. I'm sure he asked a lot of questions of them in the locker room right before walking out of this field, saying how much does it mean to you? It's a character-building performance so far, 60 minutes in. But it's always going to be a big challenge for Lou City.
You could hear the New Jersey coming out of Brian Clarehout when he had that quote pregame. Again, I'll read it to you. I'm looking to get a good win, good result, get a clean sheet. I'd like to go in there, handle the energy, the crowd, be organized, and in control of the game. There are not many coaches in USL Championship who would be brash enough to say that before a game at Louisville. Not only did he say it, so far his team has backed it up. I'm allowed to have the New Jersey dig in there because that's also me. But brash and bold from Clarehout, and maybe that's what the boys needed. Sometimes you respond to something like that after an 0-3 start. Know that the coach believes in you to go on the road in a daunting task here against Louisville and pull it off.
Still work to be done. Louisville, so much talent on this roster. Golden standard of USL Championship. They're never going to go down without a fight. Deal with a very dangerous set piece here as Mogul steps over it.
Fifth third bank free kick. Carlos Mogul whips it toward the back post. And across frame by Perez. Tellefson brings it down. And it's a handball against Tellefson.
It's been countless of times when Lou City gets into that 18-yard box. It's a little shove in the back. It's a handball, just not sharp enough in and around that 18-yard box, as we've seen throughout their career in USL Championship. Take a look at it here as this ball comes down. It's Tellefson on his hand.
Gonzalez down back behind the play for Louisville, holding his knee. Re-enters the frame. Good to see for a player who's had some injury history here for Louisville and prior, back when he was with Portland Timbers too. Rose wide for Castician. Josue Gomez getting set to check in for El Paso. Josue Aaron Gomez entered this season as their all-time leading scorer with 29 goals. 28-year-old came over from their sister club FC Juarez in Mexico. Once he enters the field, it will be his 99th regular season appearance for El Paso. Closing in on that 100 appearance milestone. McCabe for Perez, excuse me, and the offside flag comes up.
Very uncharacteristic from Lou City, especially on that front line. Too many times getting caught offside, not peeking over your shoulder, reading the step from El Paso. See Mushgalusa get flagged, Hans Tollefson getting flagged as well.
The substitution sees Gomez come in for Petrovic, who possibly put that last nail in the coffin, made it 3-0 for El Paso. On a day where there hasn't been a ton to cheer about for the fans, they let out one cheer there. 10,881 announced as the attendance in-house. That is a club record for a home opener here for Louisville. The result they all hoped for. McCabe looking through for Jimenez, couldn't get it there. Tollefson for Lancaster. On a day where you don't call the name Cam Lancaster too much, and that's what this day has become, it's probably not going to go too well for you offensively. He is heart and soul of what this team does offensively. 76 goals for the club. They just haven't gotten him involved in the way they typically do.
The first half, he was very active just in terms of moving. First 5 minutes of that first half, but kind of went away from that. Looking at two things from Lou City, they're having a lot of success when they change the point of attack through the center, whether it's Mogul, whether it's McCabe, or it's just playing direct into the feet of Lancaster, have players running off of him. Just haven't been decisive in any sort of situations in the middle third. Lou City hasn't.
Look at all this room now for Gomez. Waiting for some help. Josue Aaron Gomez lays it inside to Calvillo. Solinak pushes it wide for Castician. Castician in front, Solinak there, saved by Martin. Somehow got his leg to it, otherwise it's 4. These teams have only ever met once previously. It was last July, a 1-0 win for Louisville on the road. El Paso more than returning the favor so far. Ball into space for Perez. Perez, if that's not the day in a nutshell for Louisville, I don't know what is.
Just lacking that final action. Not sharp enough in that final third. Doing extremely well to get into the final third, but what happens when you're inside that 18-yard box, in and around it? Well, it's a combination play, individual brilliance, that final pass. All of the above has been lacking for Danny Cruz and the boys in purple. Just haven't seen as many vertical runs from deep line positions or on the front line, whether it's Mushagalusa, Gonzalez. Ideas aren't there right now for Moose City once they get to the midfield third.
They are there again, and they're forced back again. Amadou Dia is forced to tuck in at center back after Jimenez came on. Here is Jimenez sending it in, knotted down, volley saved, rebound off the post. You know, just a second ago I said if that's not the day in a nutshell for Louisville, I don't know what is. That is the save, and then off the post, Gonzalez denied twice.
And as he reads the second phase of this ball, the patience, let this thing come down, get a lot of contact in it with a lot of pace. Benny Diaz knows nothing about that initial save. And then just so unlucky. And Gonzalez does everything right, body control, technique, to put it to that far post when he gets the second bite of the apple. Just so unlucky and so unfortunate for Lou City to not grab one back here, approaching the 70th minute mark.
Sometimes it's just not your day. To be fair, don't mean to suggest that it's just one of those days for Louisville. They have struggled mightily, and El Paso has taken it to them. But when you couple that with some breaks like that, you know it's just probably a wrap for the day. They're not going to throw in the towel. This team never will, not at home especially, but for those where you just have to chalk it up, memory bank it, leave it behind, and move on to the next one.
As a striker, talking about the next one, the most important chance is your next opportunity that you get. And hopefully we'll see that chance bring some life and energy into the stadium, into the players on the field to feed off of the liveliness here, 10,000 plus.
It's back to the West Coast next week for Louisville. After opening against Orange County and Monterey Bay, they visit Sacramento on April 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern. Perez, good service, Mushagalusa. And it's came off the top of his head. Paco Craig leads Miami FC into Kentucky to face Josh Winder and the reigning Eastern Conference winners, Louisville City FC. Don't miss the start of the new season of the USL on ESPN, Saturday, May 13th at 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Quite the back-to-back in the area. Kentucky Derby the week prior, May 6th. Get that big nationally televised game here on May 13th. Clash of the heads here leaves Solinak on the ground. Ooh.
Those are never fun.
Mogul took it like a champ, though.
He sees it coming.
He saw it coming, but
it still hurt.
If I turn to you right now and you see it coming and I headbutt you, are you going to be happy about it?
If you don't see it coming, it hurts a little bit more because you're not prepared for it. It's good to see Solinak up on his feet.
El Paso readying two changes. Chapa Herrera will be one of the players entering, as will Miles Lyons. For the time being, told it'll be for Kastishin and Zacharias. Could be the final involvements here for Zacharias. Out wide to Navarro. Zacharias, middle of your screen, laboring his way back into the box. Seems like he is ready to be taken off.
Once again, if you're Mushagalusa, there's no need to go into this challenge. Rather rash. A bit too eager to win the ball. Have to play in. It's been a frustrating afternoon for the winger. But as the El Paso player's back is turned, he's in the corner flag. You go through him, and now you have to set up a dangerous set piece offensively now for Lou City.
And here come those changes. Herrera and Lyons in, Zacharias Castichin out. All substitutions brought to you by Fortuna. There were games like this last year for Louisville where they just didn't have their A game and were played at times off the field, but those didn't come until later in the year. More on that in a second. Free kick whipped in right at the first defender, Jimenez. Second bite at the apple here for Calvillo, and he pulls it back. Now Navarro sending it toward the penalty spot. But all those instances for Louisville came late in the season last year after they were dealing with the traffic of fixtures with the Open Cup and midweek games. There were reasons. They were laboring, they were tired, they were fatigued. Danny Cruz was the first to admit it, that he pushed them a little bit too hard at times with the Open Cup as well. But it wasn't early in the year. They started the year 10 unbeaten in all competitions last season between the league and Open Cup. So to see this come this early in the season, this is a bit of a shock for this Louisville team. Now again, you can talk about some of the injuries they have, but those more affecting the depth. It was still a very top of the line starting 11, perhaps their preferred starting 11 in most cases, and you bring in three very capable guys off the bench when it came to Jimenez, McCabe, and Gonzalez. A lot of questions to be asked after this one today. With just a quarter of an hour remaining now. On the flip side, just what the doctor ordered for El Paso. Apologies for the technical difficulties. In the 76th minute, El Paso, a 3-0 lead over Lou City FC with Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Coming down to the conclusion of this one here at Lynn Family Stadium. Going to be the first home opener loss, it seems, for Louisville in 3 years at the hands of Pittsburgh back in 2020. McCabe.
But once again, just a wrong decision there. Now McCabe tries to go for the home run ball, trying to play it across the field to Musha Galusa. Yes, I've been asking for the change of point of attack. Sometimes you have to play simple as well.
Fans, head to Twitter to vote on tonight's Lynn Family Sports Vision and Training Man of the Match. Poll will be open for the next 10 minutes. Vote now at twitter.com/LouCity. And the social admins are trying to get some good vibes going. The tweet reads, try to channel something good here. Your options are Cam Lancaster, Jorge Gonzalez, Rasmus Tellefsen, or Enoch Mushigalusa. Anything to try and stoke something here. Maybe the good vibes from the tweet will manifest into something for Louisville. At least that's what they hope. Mushigalusa will not be a part of that. He is subbed off. Tyler Gibson enters the fray. Substitutions tonight brought to you by Fortuna. Mikey, with a dozen minutes to play here, a match that looks certainly in hand for El Paso. Start thinking about the league as a whole. The sample sizes are growing. They're still small. 3 games for Louisville, 4 for El Paso. We're about a month or so into the season. Calendar turns to April for next weekend. We know a little bit more about these teams. Early impressions on where Louisville and El Paso sort of measure up in their respective conferences.
Respectively, I think Louisville is still the standard in this Eastern Conference. Right after that, there's Tampa Bay Rowdies, but they have a lot of turnover. Let's see what that looks like going forward for Neil Collins, J.J. Williams, Cal Jennings. Haven't really clicked at the moment. But just the maturity, the mature approach to the games on the road for Danny Cruz, taking all 6 points at Monterey Bay at Orange County. You can't look past that. Obviously not the best in performance here tonight. I think they're number 1 in Eastern Conference out of 3 games. In El Paso, kind of the opposite. Right? You would think they're at the bottom at home, losing all 3. But the way that they've came out.
And looking for more. Calvillo nods it down, saved by Morton.
And just the way that they've came out and really not been intimidated by the hostile environment, home opener. There's so many things that can go against them. You can just get in your shell and say, okay, we're going to play defensively, maybe play for the tie, which most coaches will. We talked about the quote that the manager had pre-game. That's one thing to talk about, is to also be about it, to bring it out on the field, a completely different story. So I alluded to it a bit earlier, Joe. I think El Paso takes this win, if they see it out, of course, and just builds on it. Have a couple at home after the FC Tulsa game. It's never going to be an easy out because you know the talent was there. When it goes to Lou City, now it's all about growing, learning from your mistakes. I talked about it earlier in the first half. The debutant, Kawasmi Brink, comes out, go back to the film. Professional debut doesn't go how you think, but it's all about learning. Danny Cruz is going to bring his side in and say, okay, not our best performance, but have this be a wake-up call. Talk about complacency, maybe a bit complacent, thinks, oh, we're going to take all 3 points in. El Paso not at the best of their form. But in the USL Championship, things can change at a drop of a hat. We've seen that throughout the years. I think after this maybe poor performance, about 80 minutes in from Lou City, still positive to take from it. But more importantly, I think it's the mentality of how you grow from it.
I think you're going to see more so this season than any season in recent history. The parity is just tremendous. I mean, from top to bottom right now in the West and the East. For the time being, things will change as the year goes along and certain teams maybe struggle or injuries pop up. But there is not a single team you could look at in either conference right now and say, I feel like I'm going to pick up points in that game.
Exactly.
Nothing is going to be easy this year.
That's what you want for a league, just to keep on growing. Obviously, some teams go to MLS Next Pro, the level goes higher, the players that they brought in, selling players to Europe, bringing in players from Europe, MLS players dropping down, whatever it may be. Just the growth of the USL Championship over the years has been astronomical.
And with the format this year, with the top 8 teams in each conference making the playoffs, it means we're not going to say goodbye to too many teams. You're going to have 4 teams below the playoff line in each conference. It's going to be an absolute dogfight until the very end. Sure, there are some who might say that, you know, a 16-team playoff in a 24-team league, does it dilute it a little bit? I think the opposite, where you're going to have until the very end teams with all those spots battling. You're not going to have a game that's not competitive until possibly decision day. And even then, would it surprise you if on decision day, literally all 12 teams in both conferences are still alive for that 7 or 8 spot? It's going to be tight the whole way.
And we talked about it with Danny Cruz earlier this week. Said how important every single point is. They dropped some points out last year. It means the championship game is on the road. That was at Lynn Family Stadium. What does that look like? Just the importance of coming out on the field, putting your best foot forward, your best 11 forward, 100%. You can never take anything lightly. I mean, I'm not a betting man, but if you're going to bet this game, obviously more times than not, Louis City's walking home with all 3 points.
At worst, 1 point.
Exactly. It's been the complete opposite here.
Part of that stems from the lack of productivity in the attacking third from Louisville. On the El Paso side, 8 shots, 6 on target. On the Louisville side, 12 shots, 2 on target today. Dangerous challenge from behind by Navarro. Apologetic right away as he stood up. The apology safe him a yellow card. It seemed like it did. He's actually injured himself now as he goes off the sideline. Louisville plays on. McCabe for Jimenez. And a corner coming for Louisville.
And also look at the players that have been missing for Lou City. No one be out for a red card. Scarlett's not available as well. Big pieces going forward. Harris, what does he look like coming forward? How quickly can he get in form? As we've seen Navarro, very rash challenge here on Jimenez. Dangerous. I think he's very lucky not to go in the book there.
Just to elaborate on that list, Wes Sharpie, Wilson Harris, Dylan Maris, Brian Ownby, Ray Serrano, Josh Winder, all unavailable for selection today. I mean, that is 6 players who on any given day could all be in the starting 11, and you wouldn't even think twice about it. And a testament to the depth of this team that even without those 6 guys, they put out a really strong starting 11, and you wouldn't even bat an eye that those guys were missing coming into the day. But it's just a trickle-down effect on the depth. Danny Cruz makes those 3 subs right out of the gate at halftime, and then it left him depleted without any more options beside Tyler Gibson to throw in off the bench. It'd be nice to bring in a Wilson Harris or to bring in a Dylan Maris. Mogul from the corner, curls it back post. Gonzalez just under it. You're El Paso now. Can you turn this into a mini run in the early stages of this season? On the road next against Tulsa before home games against Orange County and Pittsburgh. I'd say the biggest surprise of the first couple of weeks of the season was El Paso starting as poorly as they did. I don't know that many people would have expected anything of the sort. On the Louisville side, Colin Elder of the Academy making his first appearance. Mark Navarro came out of the match for Emmanuel Sinupe on the El Paso side. It was Jorge Gonzalez who came out for Louisville. Benny Diaz almost tripped over the line. Corrals it as it comes into the box. And these are the moments where that lack of depth on a day like this hurts Louisville. No disrespect to Colin Elder, a Bright Academy product coming in, getting his first shot here. But you'd much rather that be Wilson Harris coming off the bench maybe 20 minutes ago to stoke something instead of now. Mogul, back for Gibson. Amadou Dia tracking it, nudge from behind by Sinupe. Tonight's Lynn Family Sports Vision and Training Man of the Match was voted on by the fans as Jorge Gonzalez, just subbed off. Never really had a chance to leave a lasting imprint as he came off for Colin Elder. He had the best attacking motion to the night. He had that volley that was saved by Benny Diaz. The rebound came right back to him, put it off the inside of the post. And Ricky, how many times do you see it come off the inside of the post and just go in? You've obviously got a rounded post and a round ball. You get some funky bounces. That one just didn't go their way. Perez latches onto it, and he earns a corner.
That ball hits the back of the net. I think we're looking at a very different last 15 minutes here for Lou City. Just sometimes how that ball bounces, just so unfortunate. But it's always interesting when you have these type of performances so early in the year versus the middle of the year versus late of the year. One thing about Danny Cruz, he has his finger on the locker room. He knows the pulse of these players. He's going to get the best of them down the long run.
Mogul's corner. Elder was there. Tellefson to the far post. And it's snatched by Diaz. Now it's Yuma on the ground holding his head. We've seen a number of head-to-head collisions in this game.
And as this ball pops out to Tellefson, he has one thing on his mind, just trying to loop this thing and try to catch it inside that back post. How many times have we seen goalkeepers think it's going to go over, hit the crossbar, and stop their run, and just squeaks right underneath that crossbar? That's what Tellefson is trying to do. But give credit to that man right there. Positioning, stays with the ball the whole way. Just brings it in. And El Paso defensively has been spot on. I think that has to be a topic of discussion in training approaching this match. 3 goals, 3 games at home, 6 goals against. How do you tighten things up? Back 4, Diaz has been spot on. Third player, Claire Haupt.
Don't underestimate the return of Eder Borelli on that back line. Veteran piece has twice been the Defensive Player of the Year for El Paso since he made his debut at the club back in 2020. To add that experience back into the mix with Yuma, who's gingerly making his way off the field here. Borelli's impacts on this match were felt early. The 90th minute now, waiting for word on stoppage time. All a formality at this point as El Paso is on its way to 3 points. Nodded all the way back for Benny Diaz. He'll just take some time. Stoppage time tonight is presented by Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Referees will be tacking on 4 minutes as the clock ticks up to 90.
The clock has stopped at 90 minutes. Official time is being kept on the field. So the referee has gathered 4 minutes in the second half. Stoppage time is brought to you by Louisville
Gomez.
International Airport. 4 minutes.
Gibson puts in a challenge from behind. Free kick coming for El Paso. Card coming for Gibson. Yellow cards brought to you by World of Beer.
Nice little move here from Gomez to go around the corner. I think it's that swooping right leg from Gibson. Not much in there. It's always dangerous when you leave your feet. Get no contact on the ball. Gomez makes the most of it. As you expect a player that's up 3-0 in the 91st minute will. It's that type of day for Lou City. Frustrating. Unable to really click offensively, defensively. Too many gaps, too many mistakes in terms of rotation, communication, whatever it may be.
Taken quickly by El Paso. They'll go to the corner with Gomez. Looking long for Lancaster. Benny Diaz racing out to it. Mentioned it in the first few minutes. If you haven't seen Benny Diaz play yet in USL Championship, that's what you come to expect. We only got a glimpse of it last year when he made 13 starts early in the year for the Oakland Roots. After that, Tijuana recalled him from his loan back to Liga MX. But he's back, and he is coming to an adventure near you. Always keen to leave his box and make a play like that.
We saw earlier in the first half, Cameron Lancaster makes a little run inside the box. He was able to bring it down. Benny Diaz is about 10, 15 yards off his line. Just so unlucky, unable to get his body turned around, facing goal. Like you mentioned, Joe, it's always an adventure with Diaz in net.
You're seeing it more and more with goalkeepers who are young and coming up through the ranks. I personally call it the Manuel Neuer effect. You grow up watching him plastered on every World Cup or Euro highlight, and he's playing that sweeper keeper role. And as the game has evolved over the last few years, keepers having to play more with their feet, it's becoming more and more normal. But if you ask one of our colleagues, Gary Bailey, he's used to planting his feet firmly between the posts. There are some who don't necessarily love it because the mistakes do happen, and when they do, they look very, very bad.
And also just think the progression of how football is being played. A lot of teams want to play possession-based, want to play out of the back, starting with the goalkeeper. And what that does for the opposition, they try to press higher. They try to force turnovers in their attacking half, so when they win the ball, they're in an advanced position. And what that does, as your center backs push up, there's a lot of real estate behind them, so it makes the goalkeeper come off his line. And having that balance of how high to go, how deep to go, reading the play, when to step out, when to not step out, that makes the differences of a top-class goalkeeper is a very good goalkeeper.
9 times out of 10 it goes well. 1 time out of 10 it ends up on the when playing it out of the back goes wrong Twitter page.
Not top 10, what do they call it? Not top 10?
Not top 10. Louisville's going to have to lick the wounds and get right back at it. They have racked up the airline miles in the early portion of this season. Out to Orange County, back home to Louisville, out to Monterey Bay, back to Louisville, played a game at home, and now back out to Sacramento next weekend. Coming into the day, El Paso wanted to right the ship and find that first victory. Brian Clairhout said, I'm looking to get a good win, a good result, a clean sheet. I like to go in there, handle the energy, handle the crowd, and be organized and in control of the game. And mission accomplished for El Paso. Just waiting now for that final whistle to solidify the clean sheet. All eyes on Elvis Osmanovic. We'll let one more attack play out for El Paso. After an 0-3 start to the season for El Paso with 3 home losses, they come on the road to the fortress of Lynn Family Stadium and win 3-0 against Louisville City FC.
Not the best performance for Lou City, especially in their home opener, but still a lot of work to be done for El Paso. 3 looks at goals, very clinical in their finishing. And this game always comes down to how clinical can you be in and around on both boxes, that 18-yard box. Lou City didn't really get anything clicking on the attacking phase of the game. Bit of slow rotation and communication in that back line. Give credit to El Paso, Brian Clairhout, the mentality to bounce back after an 0-3 start at home, to take all 3 points in Lynn Family Stadium in the home opener. Brilliant stuff from the visitors.
Post game is presented to you by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. A 3-0 defeat for Louisville. Goals were scored twice in the first half by El Paso, Navarro in the 39th, Zacharias in the 45th. And then Petrovic made it 3 early in the second half. It was his first goal in USL and Navarro's first goal in USL as well. So El Paso, after all the points that were dropped at home in the last week, they come out there and they get a much needed win. Not a place where you expected them to do it, not a time where you expected them to do it, but here's the thing, they did it.
And now for both of these organizations, what's your reaction look like? You're only good as the next step. El Paso, you're going to FC Tulsa. You did it at home at Lynn Family Stadium. Now can you do it against a new look Blair Gavin side for Lou City? Lose your home opener. That's going to light a fire. You know, training once Monday comes around, Danny Cruz is going to get into the boys and demand a reaction. Next team that Lou City plays, don't want to be against them because you know the first 10-15 minutes they're going to come out firing.
And a lot of people are looking forward to that game next week on the road against Sacramento, because if you remember last year, we saw it on the schedule. Sacramento at Louisville. That was going to be a clash of the Titans, 2 of the best teams in USL Championship at the time. But Sacramento rested all their guys because they were ready for the Open Cup final. So we get that showdown next week in Sacramento. And we come back in just a moment to wrap things up here, where El Paso took a 3-0 victory on the road against Louisville City FC. Their first points collected this season after an 0-3 start. They are going to be flying high on the trip back home to Texas. Some breaks went their way, but they were also outstanding on the day. More to come from Lynn Family Stadium on the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety postgame show.
When you get proven quality at lower than low prices with Find the proven quality you love at lower than low prices with Kroger brand products. Only at Kroger. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Well, they say the grass is greener there, but ours is dreamy blue. And there's no place I would rather be than Kentucky with you.
It's game time, baby. Are you ready? 'Cause I'm ready. It's game time. It's game time. It's game time. 'Cause it's game time. 'Cause it's game time. Cause it's game time.
Tonight's final score is brought to you by Gorski Law Office. And I think Louisville would like to litigate this one. Did not go the way they wanted to tonight. A 3-0 defeat at the hands of El Paso, but a hard-earned victory for El Paso. They came out from the jump and took it to Louisville. As we go ahead and take a look at the highlights, Ricky, from the early onset of this game, Louisville struggled to find anything in the attacking third. El Paso, on the other hand, they looked comfortable and they converted when they had their chances.
And it's very interesting because both teams are trending in a completely different direction. It starts early in this first half. How quickly can you change the point of attack? And then you isolate your outside back. Dia does extremely well. It forces him inside to a lot of traffic, but the thing is there's no traffic to be covered. The Piccolo slow to rotation, you can just see the run from Solignac really shades Morton. Doesn't get him a good look at the ball. Too much traffic in front of Kawasmi, unable to make any sort of touch on it. But such a brilliant number 9 run from Solignac.
And then a goalkeeper assist. We don't see this often, but when it's 27-mile-an-hour winds, you get a punt like that and you get a finish like this.
Yeah, Kawasmi just on his heels a bit, but give credit to Zacharias. Anticipation, getting in behind the debutant and the center back. And it has a lot to be dealt with the finish. As his ball's bouncing up, there's traffic on your left shoulder. Let it come across. And as he swipes towards it, just sneaks that into Kai Morton's far post. But then again, Lou City just on the back foot, not reactive. Wayward pass from Dia. Perez, slow to react. Petrovic makes them pay. Once again, goes across the goal to that far post of Morton. Clinical finish, and they take all 3 points with 3 goals in the back of the net.
Tonight's stats brought to you by Pave Masters, and El Paso was just clinical in the end. That's the theme of the evening.
Yeah, just how clinical can you be in both 18-yard boxes? Danny Cruz and the company didn't really get anything clicking. They had a good spurts when they changed point of attack, and it was overlapping runs with Perez and Teleficen, but just lacking that final action, whether it was an individual brilliance, a combination play, ball across, that finishing touch. If Gonzalez finds the back of the net and that opportunity, I think this game's completely different in the last 15 minutes, but you have to give credit to El Paso. It's very easy. You start 0-3 at home to hang your head, to come in here to spoil the party. Well done, El Paso.
Well, they struggled at home, but they're going to look to keep that momentum going on the road. El Paso goes at it again next on Friday on the road against Tulsa. And Louisville back out to the West Coast. They visit Sacramento on April Fool's Day, a week from today. That does it for us today from Lynn Family Stadium. El Paso 3, Louisville nothing. For my broadcast partner Ricky Lopez-Espin and the crew that makes this possible, I'm Joe Malva signing off from Louisville. Enjoy the rest of your day. Plenty more USL Championship action to catch on ESPN+.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.